Hey guys, Sundown Rider here. This is going to be my chapter review to Nanatsu no Taizai, or the 7 Deadly Sins, 258, Holy War Begins. Now, this chapter starts off with a conversation between Meliodas and Zeldris, and I really like this chapter. I thought it was pretty good, even though it would seem at first, like when you read it through the first time, that there wasn't much going on. There was actually quite a lot to get through, so the chapter first starts off with a conversation between Meliodas and Zeldris, and they're frustrated about Estaros's absence, with Meliodas wanting to absorb the commandments as quickly as possible. And we find out some key information here. In order to absorb the commandments without a hint of rejection, an entity or a demon of awesome, like of a high level, so they must be elite, they must be incredibly strong, as is the case with Meliodas. They must absorb the commandments within half a day. So you absorb one lot within you absorb one lot or one, and then you have to absorb the rest within half a day by the sounds of things. So I was like, okay, that's a very key point here, because it was just in passing conversation, but it's incredibly key, because if Estarossa knows this, Meliodas' goal of becoming the Demon King may already be lost at this point, right at this point. So all Estarossa needs to do now is hold out for a while, if he knows this key fact. I also like the fact that Meliodas shows some concern for Zeldris. He's asking him about, you're going to be alright without your commandment. And we know that Meliodas and Zeldris have been at odds, but Meliodas has always displayed some regret for not being there for his brothers. And I think especially in the case of Zeldris, the two of them, Meliodas and Zeldris, seem to have more of a deeper relationship than he and Estarossa. Estarossa always seemed to idolize Meliodas, but Meliodas doesn't ever really have anything in return for Estarossa. He's just, yeah, he's my brother, But Zeldris and him seem to have a deeper relationship. And then this whole thing was followed by Meliodas apologizing to Zeldris for his failings as an older brother, and I was like, damn, man, this is hurting right here, bro. So then what I was thinking here was, I wonder if this will come back to save Meliodas in the end. Maybe Zeldris will do something crazy to save Meliodas or something like that. And I don't know, like I said before, I just feel like their relationship is deeper than the ones they share with Estarossa, and there must be more to why they're at odds currently. Zeldris also reminds Meliodas of the promise he's made for his cooperation, which Meliodas is adamant about keeping once he becomes the Demon King. I seriously don't think it's going to be anything to do with Gelda, which was Zeldris' vampire girlfriend. I feel like, although that would be a really good motivating factor for Zeldris to cooperate with Meliodas, he should be aware of the lack of vampires so far once they've returned, from the coffin of eternal darkness. I feel he knows that Gelda is dead, and Meliodas wouldn't be able to activate Monster Reborn or some shit to bring her back, unless being the Demon King allows that. So I don't know. I doubt it's something to do with Gelda, but then it would be a case of what else would motivate Zeldris to cooperate with Meliodas. So then Meliodas then goes on to absorb the 5 commandments, and like I said before, this was a bad move, I think. Not in terms of writing, just in terms of in Meliodas' character, in his mind. This was a bad move by Meliodas, and it's a mental mistake. Both Zeldris and Meliodas have their suspicions regarding Estarossa, and now they've put him in a position where in a stronger position, and it becomes, especially if Meliodas has to gather the commandments within half a day, and if Estarossa essentially holds out for a bit, Meliodas will have only half a day to go and retrieve the commandments that Estarossa has. So it's going to be really, Estarossa is in a strong position here. He's at the top. And what I think they should have done is they should have waited until they'd gathered all 10 commandments, and then Meliodas could have absorbed them all at the same time. And they also still need to actually, at this point, steal the commandment that the sins have, that Merlin has, which gives the sins some leverage over the demons as well. So this was a rash move by Meliodas, which has really given Estarossa a lot of leverage over Meliodas, and he's in a stronger position in terms of the commandments, and the sins also have some leverage on Meliodas here. We then go to the sins, who have new Holy War outfits designed by Merlin. They're all looking badass as shit. They got like some awesome highlights and stuff like that. The outfits are self-repairing, and if they're self-repairing, I start to wonder if Merlin has really implemented other spells and woven other spells into the material and into the clothing that might aid the Taizai, the 7 deadly sins, in a certain situation. So Merlin obviously wants to look as sexy as possible while she's fighting. So she's got this like figure hugging dress that slits at her left hip, and it just goes all the way down her leg, revealing that leg. Speaking of figure hugging, we go to Diane's jumpsuit, which is literally skin tight, and King couldn't hack the sesh, nosebleeds everywhere. And just wanted to point out something. Diane's like, there is cleavage deluxe, bro. I was like, damn, like, the hell, bro? Okay, I was like, okay, fine, whatever. King's outfit looks dope. I really liked King's outfit. I thought, yo, this looks awesome as hell. And it's what I assume is a white outfit. It resembles his original outfit, I think it was. The kind of like, he had like, it looked like a raincoat. But it's a white outfit with black highlights at like the sleeves, down the zip, and where the button should be. And he has a black hood, and I was like, yo, he looks awesome. King looks awesome. And then we have Escanor looking like a complete badass. Our boy's got a fur-lined jacket, also in white with a furry ass collar and everything. He's got 7 deadly sins tattoo on his back. You know, he's got his lion tattoo. He's got black pants which are held up by a belt emblazoned with the sun. I was like, yup. I was like, he looks sick, and what a legendary outfit. What a freaking legendary outfit. And then we have Gauther in like hot pants and a crop top. So the less we talk about that, the better, I think. And then with the sins, King almost proposes to Diane, saying they should get married after the war. And I was like, that's cool, whatever. But they're interrupted by an annoyed Escanor who literally just walks in to ruin the moment. And I was like, the heck, bruh? So like, now I love Escanor, but seeing him in this petty state shows how much he's been affected by his unreciprocated love for Merlin. And what this always brings up the question of, if Merlin were to die, where would Escanor's allegiances lie? Would he blame Arthur for like stealing the love of his life and something like that, or would he even turn on Arthur if Arthur were to be revived, regardless of whether Merlin was alive or not? So yeah, I'm not sure about Escanor at the moment, but his allegiances do seem to be a little bit. I doubt. Knowing him as a character, I doubt he would actually ever turn on the sins, but he does seem to be in a very annoyed, a very moody state, and he could do anything at this point. Also, I really laughed my ass off when Gauther mimicked Merlin's voice, and you see Escanor's kind of like, his hope is, oh shit, Merlin's here, and he looks back and it's just Gauther in his like hot pants and his crop top, and you look back at Escanor, his eyes are blacked out and his vein is just bulgy. I was laughing my ass off. His disgust was hilarious. So and then we actually come back to a very key point. During his conversation with the sins, Escanor was coughing all the way throughout, and when he walks away, he coughs into his hand, revealing some blood that he'd coughed up into his hand. And people were saying that this had been foretold in chapter 169, page 23, you know, this damage he'd sustained. And in this chapter 169, page 23, where Gauther causes Escanor to hallucinate during their fight at like that tournament between that Gloxinia and Dolo had organized, in this hallucination that Gauther causes, Merlin tells Escanor it's only a matter of time before it ends up devouring your whole body, referring to his curse, which is Mael's grace or Escanor's grace. And this could very well be the issue, but that would mean we'd have to take Gauther's word for it. And Gauther was a nut job back then. He was a complete nutcase. And in that hallucination, Merlin then goes on to say that Escanor is another of her test subjects. So due to these 2 points, I really doubt Gauther as a reliable source of information. However, in chapter 253, when Ruduciel finds out about Escanor having and owning sunshine, he says in reference to his grace, if a human were to acquire such power, it would eat away at their body, ultimately wasting it away to destruction. I'm sure you understand that better than anyone, referring to Escanor. Now, Ruduciel here is a reliable source, being someone who's owned a grace and has a grace, but he is also a source who has never seen a human who has been accepted by a grace before, and therefore he's only assuming what would happen to a normal human, to every other human. But this is Escanor. This is someone who's been chosen by a grace. Additionally, Escanor has had the grace since birth, so he's either been hiding the side effects or there weren't any. So I think it's safe to assume that, I'm not too sure which one we could go for here, but seeing as he's coughing up blood, it might be safe to presume here that he's been hiding the side effects. That's what you'd presume. But I also think it's part of the coughing up the blood thing. It's a lot of it is to do with, or maybe some of it is to do with the damage he sustained from Meliodas. We have to remember his insides were cooked, well done via Hellblaze. Even though his wounds closed up when he became the One, he still fainted afterwards, suggesting the damage he took hadn't fully recovered whilst being in the One form. And this further suggests that he actually, this coughing up of blood actually suggests that he hasn't recovered, and Meliodas did more damage than we knew, and Escanor is, after all, a human with a borrowed grace. We then go to the Stigma army as a whole, with the Sins there, everyone's there, and here we see Tamiel and Sariel observe the effects of Reduciel's brainwashing, or Breath of Bless, and everyone's basically crazy and really intent on defeating demons and killing demons. We then see Gil Thunder, Hauser, Griamore pledge to each other to bring back Margaret, Veronica, but mostly to come back to each other alive by the end of the Holy War. And the chapter then ends with Stigma, the Stigma army charging at a host of lesser demons, at a host of like these Albions, starting the Holy War. So that was actually the end of the chapter. So yeah, I thought the chapter was good. If a lot of it was concentrating on Escanor's coughing up of the blood and the interaction between the Sins, but there was also the whole Meliodas and Zeldaris thing, and really seeing how that could expand and how that could go on down the line. There's also, like we mentioned before, the whole Estarossa thing, seeing how now that he's in a position of power, with Meliodas having absorbed 5 of the commandments, and he now only has a limited amount of time before he starts being rejected if he doesn't accept the other commandments or doesn't absorb the other commandments. So yeah, a rash move by Meliodas, but we'll see how things go. Let me know what you guys thought of this review, and let me know what you guys thought of the chapter. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I always enjoy reading your comments. So let me know. I'll release this in the next half an hour or something. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. And yeah, that's about it. I'll see you guys in a bit.